My wife wanted Chipotle last night, so we went out and got Chipotle. Is that something you partake in or no?
I do enjoy the Chipotle, but I will say that since moving to the South, my wife and I, when we are feeling in a similar mood, it is a Chick-fil-A run, not Chipotle.
Oh,
Yeah, every couple of weeks,
our
every
boys, our
couple of
boys
weeks.
love Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, how could you not? It's
So,
pretty great.
do you get the waffle fries?
Do you get the waffle fries? And depending on how off the rails I want to get, you can decide between the grilled and the fried chicken pieces.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
their hot chicken sandwich is pretty good. I do enjoy that. But usually I'm just chicken pieces and get your sauces and get your fries and you're good to go.
Nice, nice. It's yeah, that's how our boys. Now that our oldest has his own car, can drive around. We'll find the Chick-fil-A bags in the car.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Oh, you guys have them that far west now. I didn't know they made it that way.
yeah, there's only one in the area that I'm aware of,
Yeah.
and we'll see what it is. Maybe we can make a future show of this, depending upon what happens tomorrow. For the first time in, I mean, it's literally been years. I have a like just a routine doctor's checkup, a physical appointment, like a head to toe once over, and so I get to commute into Seattle. Of course, I'd rather jump off a cliff than do that, but I get to commute into Seattle and do that first thing in the morning. So hopefully, I get a clean bill of health, and we'll see how it goes. You know what's crazy?
Tell me.
We'll see if we get this same reaction from the doctor. No spring chicken anymore, right? I'm 50. But even like the last time I was in the doctor, like I don't know, let's say 3 to 5 years ago, and they doing the general checklist, they always assume that there's an error in the checklist when I say that I'm not on any like medications. I don't take something every day. They're like, here we asked you what you're taking each day, and it was blank, and I was like, well, I don't take anything. They're like, really? Like it's
Yeah.
it's it's almost like strange.
Hey, I was literally having this conversation this morning with my wife. We talk about this quite a bit. She has some older relatives in the family. I don't want to get too much into my personal life here, but yeah, helping to manage some of that, it does create like a real stark contrast between the reality that my wife and I occupy. And we were having exactly the same conversation. Like, what percentage of the population can honestly say, like, in my adult life, I have had prescriptions, sure, but they've always been interventionary. Like, I literally could not get out of bed because my back was so bad. Well, so you go get a
Hmm.
muscle relaxer for a couple of days, and like that's it. And then it'll be years before another incident like that. But as far as any sort of long-term prescription, I cannot think of a single time in my adult life that I've been on anything. And hey, I'm not saying it's good or bad. If you are in a situation where that's required, do what you got to do.
Right? Yeah.
I'm not. This is not a moral judgment, but it is interesting that yeah, you're very, very, very much in the minority if you're not on multiple medications, particularly if you're like over the age of 30.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I take on a regular basis, obviously, is like enough steroids to kill a horse. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I mean, like this doesn't just happen
same.
naturally, not natty as they say. This
That's
doesn't
right.
just fall
Yeah,
out of the
gotta be
sky.
right. Dude, can I tell you another going back and jump in the conversation? Let me tell you my like ultimate expression of what we just talked about with Chick-fil-A and kind of fast food.
Okay. Okay. I love where this is going already.
Yeah. So we again we were on a trip, my wife and I. It was to take care of some, responsible type things that you don't really want to do, but you have to do. And so we were on the road and we were in a different state away from home, long day of travel. And we had kind of missed the dinner window,
Mm.
but happened to be driving by a Chick-fil-A. We're like, oh, okay, we'll just stop, we'll get something there. And then we had another, half hour or so to go to get to our destination. So stop, get the Chick-fil-A. My wife's handing me nuggets as I'm driving down the road. I did not get all the way through my nuggets, and I realized that I was still going to be hungry. Happened to pass an In-N-Out burger, and Pat, I kid you not, was going through the In-N-Out burger drive-through as I was eating Chick-fil-A, and I was like, "This is a peak fast food experience right
Is
now."
amazing.
But anyway, I would not recommend that on a regular basis. But what a great memory, from time to time.
Hey, you found your back against the wall. You
That's
did
right.
what you had to do to stay alive.
Yep.
It is documented proof that if an American does not eat for 4 to 6 hours, they will die. So hey, you got to do
Well,
you.
I dodged that bullet that
Yeah,
night.
you're good. Well, we're gonna. I'm not quite sure when this show is gonna post. It might be just before the new year, might be just after, but it'll be sometime around there. And so we want to cover some just goals for the new year. Fitness goals are going to be high on a lot of people's priority, obviously, this audience as well.
Mhm.
Maybe just some general ideas if you want one, but you're not sure what to do, and maybe any tips or tricks to help them hopefully have a higher degree of success. And so that's where we're going to go with today's program. But before that, you want to go to variednotrandom.com, check out the cycles that we offer: body weight, barbell, engine, uploaded to the app, everything that you need to make 2026 just glow. And then if you are a gym owner, you got to do all the things. You got to do workout tracking, gym management, and billing. You probably used to have to split those three tasks up into different software that may or may not have spoken to each other beautifully. But now BTWB has an all in one solution to handle it seamlessly. One software, everything that you need. So if you are a gym owner, go to btwb.com and check that out. So when I thought of goals, I some years I've set them, some years I haven't. I usually don't, if we're being quite honest. But if if I had to say like, okay, what is kind of a goal that's not necessarily a New Year's goal, but it's one I have all the time, and I would offer this to somebody as their goal, it would be consistency. If somebody had to think of like just some, they can't think of like a certain number of pull-ups or a deadlift or whatever. And in my mind, I think we talked about this a bit ago. It harkens back to that thing that Greg used to say at the L1, like, whatever it is that you want in a fitness program, write it down on a piece of paper, put it in a bag, come back 6 months later. And if you do CrossFit each day, you'll be, whatever it was, you'll be closer to achieving that. More confidence, better, like things that don't even make sense, interaction with other people. A faster Fran is obvious, the deadlift is obvious, but even some of those things outside, I fully agree with that. And I would say a critical part of achieving that is you got to keep showing up. And so I would say if somebody's looking for a simple, easy goal that I think you'll get a lot of bang for your buck out of, it would make consistency your focus for 2026. And this is unplanned, but BTWB actually has something I think is really cool. When you log your workouts in the app, you'll have every time you log a workout, there'll be like a little, this just in a recent update, there's like a little bar across the bottom, and it has like a number, a slash, and then a 12. If you log 12 workouts in a month, you get like a little star and all these achievements, but you kind of are now in something the BTWB calls the committed club. And so that comes out to 3 workouts a week. Not a super high bar, but if you're hitting 3 workouts a week regularly all year, you're doing far better than most. And hey, great, hit more than that. But the minimum bar is if you log 12 workouts, you'll be in the consistency club. And logging that 12th workout, it unlocks when the month ends, you'll get this really cool like screenshot or something in the app that tells you everything that you did for the month. How many thrusters, how far did you run, how many pull-ups, and it's actually it's quite motivating.
Yeah.
I've seen it the last couple months and it's actually really cool. And so we'll talk more about it, but if somebody's wondering where to start, I think consistency, if you don't have a specific goal, consistency is a really good 2026 kind of northern star, if you will.
Stole the words right out of my mouth, Pat, and
Oh, so glad
that
I went first.
really resonates on a personal level because I have been the opposite of that this year in particular, and
The uncommitted club.
yeah, I really need to get back on it. So maybe that'll be my goal is to make the committed club starting in January and see how long I can hold that. Because I definitely need a little something, and on a personal level, my goal is to just tighten up my time management. I feel like I used to be somebody who was pretty good and reliable in that regard, but I mean, you could be a testament to this. We've had a couple of false starts and me hopping on calls late and stuff like that lately, and I just feel like I'm getting a little loose in that domain, and I think the two feed into one another quite a bit. So, starting to prioritize consistency and time management, I think, are two things that I'd like to start bringing back in 2026.
I-
But I'll say, man, this is something that's kind of interesting about being in the game for as long as I have. I don't feel motivated the same way that I used to by setting a PR or
Mhm.
learning a new skill. That's still important and it's great when it happens, but I don't feel the same type of pressure or personal drive to focus on those things quite as much as I did. I'm going to steal a line here, Pat. I recently watched an interview with a comedian called Cat Williams. I don't know if you're familiar,
Oh yeah.
dude. But the host at one point, it looked like Cat needed a lighter, and he's like, "Hey man, can I get you a lighter?" And Cat, like super cool, he's just like, "I have no needs," and I thought that
It's
was
a
a
great
really cool
response.
response. Yeah, it was great. So I'm gonna steal that, and I really do feel that way. Like, yeah, I need to be a little more consistent, and it would be nice to have a little more time management. But at the end of the day, if I'm objective, it's nice to be in a place where, yeah, man, like I'm doing okay. Like I'm fit enough to still pursue the things I want to do. I'm not turning any heads with my performance and raw output these days, but in reality, things are looking pretty okay. You know what I mean? So in that, it's kind of interesting, and like I know I'm just kind of exploring this off the cuff, but it is interesting to be in a position where I've been on the other side of that, where it was really important to be able to clean and jerk that weight in that time frame. It
Yeah.
was really important to be able to string together that number of muscle ups and whatever. But that just doesn't really get me going anymore. So it is kind of different to be looking at it through another lens.
And not to get way off track here already,
Yeah,
but if you stay in the game long enough, you're going to have to do something like that. And what I mean by that is, you know, I'm 35 years into working out, 20 years into CrossFit.
yeah,
So if I did, Helen once a year, I've done 20 Helens, and I'm 20 years older than I used to. So at some point in time, I'm never, just not going to PR Helen again. If I'm just motivated by chasing that PR time, then my motivation is going to be in the toilet. And so every now and then, depending upon what comes out of the hopper that day, um, it is, I'll chase some times every now and then, but usually I'm just chasing effort. Like, so I'm going to go out, I'm going to do Helen, and if I feel like I just kept myself on the razor's edge of being just hellaciously uncomfortable the entire time, cool. Like that was the win. Like I note the time and I got it for next time, but it's like it's going off of effort. And because I know that I'm probably, I'm not going to hit that Fran time, I'm not going to hit whatever, like, but I'm going to, today is a day that I'm going to dance with the devil, or today is a day of whatever. And I use that because depending on what the workout is, like I said, if I was just chasing the time, that'd be a bummer.
yeah,
It's
100%.
it
Yep.
is what it is. If I had to, I gave out the goal of motivation as a general goal. Oh man, I guess if I looked at myself with a really honest lens as to where a couple areas I could improve in 2026, I would give two. One is easy, and that's just nutrition. Like I don't eat poorly, but that's always an area that I could do a little bit better. And I'm always trying to find that beautiful line where I know what it takes to like really dial things in and measure every almond that you're going to eat and whatnot. And I don't enjoy living like that. I also don't want to live like a drunken pirate. And I walk into my physician's appointment tomorrow. They go, "Good God, get this man a gurney right away." I don't want to be, that either. So I want to find this nice balance where, again, my wife and I went out to Chipotle last night. I can go out and do that, and I can still be fit, fast, and strong and healthy and be pleased with my body composition and not have to worry about carrying around a scale with me. But if there's an area that, I could always tighten up the nutrition a little bit because that's a moving target, because I give myself that freedom and I like sweets. I do. They're
Mm.
delicious, and so that's something which kind of I always just need to keep my thumb on. Um, and the other area I would say is I could usually do a better job with warming up. I despise warming up. It's just, have to do it for me anyway. It's necessary, but I don't like it. If I could snap my fingers and it'd be magically done every day, I would. And so every now and then, I probably abbreviate something that I shouldn't. And so, and that will happen to me because if I let the day get away from me a bit, I know that I got to work out by this time because I have to leave the house at this time because I got to get my daughter at this time. And I'm still on the computer and I'm looking at the clock and I'm still on the computer. I'm looking at the clock. And all of a sudden, I had an hour. I got 50 minutes. Okay, that's still fine. I look at it again. Oh, I got 40 minutes. Ugh! And all of a sudden, I'm out there and something's rushed. I could probably do a better job of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I got one more that's a little bit oddball, but it is related. And, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but we have our place in town here. And then I've got my property that we've been trying to develop and bring up a little bit. And we have the barn out there, and I got a nice setup. But it's still a little rough around the edges, and like it's not finished, and like we just got electricity put in, and it still needs some niceties. But I would really like to have that in a place that I can start hosting more people out there,
Oh, that's
because we
cool.
did, yeah, because we did recently do a little film project using the barn, and we talked about this. Can't remember if it was last episode or before that, but we ended up doing the Chief, and there was 12 or 13 of us out there that did it, and it was just so great to be in a position that I could host people getting together and throwing down like that. You know what I mean? And so I'd like to be a little further along to be able to do that more regularly and just have like a barn open house that people can come roll through and
Oh
throw down.
man,
And you know what I mean? Like that would, I think, come springtime, that would be really great to be able to offer.
people would dig that.
Yeah, it'd be fun, right? And it's just fun for me. It keeps me on track too. Because if people are coming through, well, you got to throw down with them, and you got to have a plan for that. So that's a big one. But I also have a question for you, Pat, because we get to this time of year and everybody out there is an expert on goal setting. I'm not.
Mhm.
Um, and to mirror you, often in my own life, like I'm not like a really goal driven person in a lot of ways. Um, but the question always seems to come up when you are trying to aim for something: is it better to keep it to yourself and just kind of make a private agreement, or do you put it out in the world and let people know? I've heard arguments both ways. I've heard the argument that, like,
Man,
yeah, as soon as you put it out there, it's kind of the same thing as kind of giving it to yourself. You're giving yourself an out a little bit, and it's less powerful. I think it probably boils down to personality and what
hmm
drives the individual. But I'm curious, like, what do you think? Are you a keep it to yourself kind of person, or are you a put it out there for accountability type of person?
I'm a keep it to myself person.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I don't know if
Yeah.
that where that falls on the realm of effective or less effective, but yeah. And now I wouldn't broadcast it, but if somebody asked, I wouldn't lie. Somebody's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, do you have a goal?" I'd be like, "Well, it's funny that you ask. Yes." But I wouldn't tell somebody just hoping to use that as kind of a peer pressure to give me a higher level of commitment. And maybe it would work for somebody, but I wouldn't do that. What about you?
Yeah, generally the same. I'm generally like I'm a pretty private person when it comes right down to it, and that's, I mean, right in line with the way I generally make goals. Like I'm usually a move in secret kind of guy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
And
saboteur.
yeah, but same thing. Like if somebody's going to ask me about it, I'm going to try my best to not be squirrely. But yeah, I'm probably write it down somewhere. I'll keep it to myself, but it's not going to be like, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Uh,
And if somebody is looking to make some goals, whatever they happen to be, I did a little bit of research for everybody out there so that they wouldn't have to, as to or what are some best practices for goals. And so if you do have a goal that you're interested in, maybe here are some things you would just contemplate when sketching out that goal. The first one, the most popular framework that people use is called the SMART framework, SMART. S is just specific. So, I want
Really
to
wish you would. I really wish you would have spelled that wrong as you
Yeah,
were.
exactly. SMT.
That would have been
You know,
that would have been great. But
so
anyway,
I want to increase my deadlift. Great. Versus I want to increase my deadlift 10 kilos. So make it specific, whatever it happens to be. It should be measurable, right? Not so it's not vague. It should be achievable, meaning just realistic. Given you know, I'm not going to set a goal of an 1,100-pound deadlift. That's not gonna go well. So it's okay, I think, to have a reach, and to have an appropriate reach. But you want to have some sense of I could actually do this thing if I really applied myself and tried really, really hard. Relevant aligns with your broader vision, long-term values, and then finally time bound. Set a deadline for it. So SMART. That seems to be like a general template that a lot of people have success with.
well, sounds smart. I will say that I heard this from Mike G and Stefan Roche, two really smart guys. And I'll probably butcher it because this is going back in the memory banks a little bit, but they used to talk a lot about goal setting and mindset and like real hardcore psychology, and that if you're too specific, you can actually shoot yourself in the foot.
Interesting.
Meaning, okay, I need to deadlift 25 more pounds by the end of January. That
Hmm.
can be really self defeating, because if you miss and you don't get that, you're going to be disappointed. Even if you got a 20-pound PR, because you
Mhm.
set out to have this really specific 25-pound PR, it's a failure in your mind and that's
Interesting.
motivating in the future. And so instead, the framework is okay. Yes, I have this goal in mind that's ultimately like I want to make $1 million or whatever it is, but actually the goal should be framed around in order to do that. These are the things I'm going to do, and that becomes the goal. So going
Yes.
back to the deadlift example, I want to add 25 pounds to my deadlift. Great. That's not really the goal. The goal is to endeavor to deadlift 3 times every, 9 sessions or whatever, so that that frequency hopefully lands me where I want to go. But that becomes the goal is, the action that's going to get me to the result, not the result itself.
That just sparked something deep in the recesses of my squirrel brain
Yeah.
that is that I also heard for goal setting that I actually really liked, and it was called, and I this is certainly not mine, somebody else said this, I can't take credit for it. Be, do, have. And meaning most people focus on just like what it's the have. I want to have a better deadlift. I want to have a better body. I want to have more money. They focus on whatever the have is, which is great. But then what's very important is the be and the do. So one step, if
Mm.
it's the deadlift or whatever, I want to have this deadlift. Okay, so now what do I need to do? You outline what you need to do to accomplish that thing that you wanted to have. And then after you know what you need to do, you then focus on this, what sort of person do you need to be that does these things? I need to be disciplined. I need to be motivated. I need to be the sort of person that works out 4 times a week. I need to be the sort of person that makes health and fitness a priority. And so, while most people just focus on the have,
Mm.
identify the have, focus on what you need to do to accomplish that, and then what sort of person do you need to be that actually does those steps? Because if you are currently a couch potato and you outline what you need to do, you need to be a bit of a different person to start to go down that road. And
Right.
I liked that, as simple as that was. And there was somebody in Goals came up a while ago because we're getting near the end of the year as we record this. Goals came up and people in Lynchpin were chatting about the back and forth. And I liked what one woman said, where she was talking about just reframing her self talk. And like, for example, instead of saying, I want to eat healthy, it
Yeah.
was, I am the type of person who eats healthy. So like it was this self talk. Instead of saying this is something that I want to do, well, I am the sort of person who does this. And for some people like that, those thoughts become actions and et cetera, et cetera. And so something as simple as changing the way that you're talking inside of your own head, in addition to having, something that you want to accomplish, might be really helpful for people as well. So that bit of a reframing might be useful for folks as well.
Yeah. I dig it.
And I will say every now and then in the past, I haven't done this in a while, I have like written things down. Like one or two or three things, remember what phase of life that I happen to have been in that were like critically important. And I would actually like read them out loud to myself in the morning. That, two or three things with some actionable steps that I wanted to do to accomplish some things. And that went on for like months, depending upon what the objective in front of me happened to be. I don't know if that worked or helped. It's just one of those things that I heard. I was like, well, it takes 15 seconds. It's not going to hurt, that's for sure. And so we'll see. And
Note to
so,
the editor, can we please get an AI version of Pat as Stuart Smalley reading the I'm good
yes,
enough? I'm
amen. One, one, 100%. So
gosh darn it, people like me.
I haven't heard of that in a while. So
It's dating me a little bit. But in my defense, things didn't make it over the Canadian border until a little bit later. So yeah.
that my friend, I think that's all I've got on the goals. And I will say what I also think helps from hearing, I'm around a lot of fitness people all the time. I'll hear some goals, and if somebody happens to fall short of their goal, there could be many reasons. But another thing which seems to be common is people might give themselves like a really profoundly lofty long-term goal, like it's a year out or whatnot, and they didn't give themselves almost sprinkle in a couple like mini goals along the way. Like if you got a goal that's a year away, well, maybe there's a goal each quarter that's much smaller that will kind of just keep you motivated, keep you fired up, and let you know that I'm not quite where I want to be, but this thing that I accomplished this quarter is indicative that I'm on the right path. And so that might be
Yep.
something for people to think of as well.
No, I think that's a big one with any long term endeavor for sure. You got to be able to celebrate the victories along the way. And I think scheduling that is like a really good idea because most of us, if we set out to do something large and grandiose, that end state is hard to keep focused on. It's hard to stay motivated by it. And because of that, when it is 1 month into an 18-month process, it's very difficult to, at that point, come back and say, okay, well, what are the things that I've actually accomplished?
Mhm.
Kind of already made that arrangement and that dedicated time to recognize it. So schedule those as intervals. If you do have like a really long-term type goal, try that out. I've used that technique in the past where, all right, every 6 weeks, I'm going to take an honest assessment and like give myself a win so that I can navigate to the next win.
Take the win.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I got. I hope everybody has whatever success they're hoping for in 2026. Hope it's just a fantastic year, and
Yep.
we'll be here with you. Keep the questions coming, keep the comments coming. Find this show on the BTWB YouTube channel. Post your thoughts. Do you have goals for 2026? Pros, things you've done that worked, things that, were just cliche and fluffy and didn't actually work. Like, let's share some knowledge in there. Ideas for upcoming shows, let us know. You can post them there in the YouTube comments. You can also go to the Very Not Random Instagram account, post a public comment, or if you have something you want to be more anonymous with, you can send a direct message. All those things make their way back to us. And so for Adrian Bosman, I'm Pat Sherwood, and we will see you next time.